Welcome to Azeroth United, a weekly podcast about World of Warcraft. My name is Denethar, and I am your host.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Wednesday night here in Azeroth, and we have a great show lined up for you. We're going to be talking about Classic WoW and the upcoming releases potentially for the different versions of Classic Plus, and what we think that is going to entail and how that rollout is going to take place. We're going to be going into it and deep diving on all of the speculation on Classic and Classic Plus 12.0.7 news and some other modern WoW anniversary news, all that and more tonight on Azeroth United. So pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and enjoy. And before I get to any of the news, I'm going to talk about what I did last week in World of Warcraft. I did, so we're working on Tempest Keep, Serpent Shrine Cavern. It's been a lot of fun going in there and learning the fights again. And last week we did 3 and out on Tempest Keep. We were not able to kill Kael'thas. And then we did our, what did we do? 3. Yeah, we did 3 bosses in Serpent Shrine. We were working on Fathom Lord, Karathras, and we just ran out of time on that one. So, that's where we are on that. You know, it's really fun going back and doing those old fights, but realizing that the fights themselves aren't hard. The mechanics are just very unforgiving. So if you do the mechanics wrong, or if there's RNG fluke or whatever it is, you're going to wipe. And that's really frustrating. I don't like that. I'm glad Blizzard moved away from the overly difficult mechanics or overly punishing mechanics, because again, the mechanics are not difficult, but they are very punitive. If you make a mistake, you pay the price. And that's one thing, and especially in normal and heroic raids, where you can get away with a mistake here and there and it's okay, but especially in TBC, in Classic, it's just really tough on some of those fights. So we're 6 out of 10, which I'd love to be 10 out of 10 or even 8 out of 10, but I think we'll get Fathom Lord this week. That's not a hard fight. It's just the pull, and we need to just figure out where we're putting our tanks and how we're lining everything up and getting the timing of it just right. That's, I think, a big part of it. I did play around with my boosted characters, so I've got the mage to 61, ran ramparts on him. That was a lot of fun. The druid I haven't really messed with, because honestly I'm not sure if I want to try and tank on a druid without having good gear, because I've got the stupid communal gear, which is what you get when you boost, and it's half agility, strength, half intellect, spirit, half some other stuff. I mean, it's just like a bunch of random smattering of gear. I think Blizzard was trolling boost players with this gear. It's really bad. But yeah, it's fun. I had a good time playing the druid, but he's kind of resting right now. He's gathering his rest XP while I try and get everyone else leveled up. I'll tell you though, I have not been playing a lot of WoW. One thing that I'm finding is that my schedule has become so interrupt heavy. And what I mean by that is I'm liable to be interrupted at any moment, at any time. So I can sit and play for an hour, no problem. But at any point during that hour or a 2-hour window, I could get interrupted and I have to go deal with something. And that's not good when you're trying to run a dungeon, say, for example, especially in modern WoW. If I was trying to, say, do a Mythic Plus, that would be really difficult. So I have been trying to get my gear up on my Death Knight in Midnight as well. But again, basically all I can do is delves. That's kind of my limit there. So, it is what it is. I'm not really worried about it, because to be perfectly honest, there's nothing in the game right now that I'm like, oh my God, I got to go do this right now. It's more like, hey, I'm just kind of chilling with some old friends, and that old friend being Azeroth. But realistically, yeah, I'm not super psyched about anything that's going on in game right now. So it's nice to just take it slow and take it easy, pop in and out whenever I feel like, go mess with player housing for a while. I did that a bunch this week too. I started building a giant, like a great hall. So what I did was I took the dark circle room that you get, and instead of building an outdoor scene in there, I'm building an actual room in there. But that way, it can be like a great hall, like a big long open. I don't even know. Yeah, I'm not sure where it's going, but one thing that I decided is that if I get an idea, I'm just going to start building, and if it turns out that's not going to work, then it's not going to work. But if it does, if it turns into something, maybe I'll get some inspiration, and then I can go from there. That would be fun. But I'm really hesitant to do anything with my regular house because I'm waiting for the ability to save and copy your rooms around. So. Yeah, it's tough, but whatever. I'm not too worried about it. So, yeah, that's basically what I've been up to. It's not an incredible amount of WoW. I'm still playing City Skylines 2. That's been one that I've been spending a lot of time on. I love simulation games. That's like one of my favorite things to play is put everything in place. Here's the infrastructure, and now see what the simulation does. That's a lot of fun to me. I grew up on SimCity, Roller Coaster Tycoon, games like that. So yeah, that one's really fun. It has its flaws, certainly, just like any game does, but it's really fun. I think that from a technology standpoint, it's definitely better than the original or than City Skylines 1, but it has some annoying aspects to it that I don't really love. But this isn't a City Skylines podcast. This isn't an EVE Online podcast. This isn't a Half-Life 2 podcast. These are, whatever games that I've been playing recently. I'm not going to get too deep into them, but yeah, that's basically what I've been up to the past week. I will say that I have to tell this story about my dog. So I have two dogs. I have two Irish setters. And one of them he's kind of happy-go-lucky. He's aloof, and he'll go stand out in the yard, and we're like, "Hey, Finn, come inside." And he'll just stand out there and stare at us because he's being aloof. And then we have our girl dog, and she's a lot more high activity. She runs around a lot. If we call her, she comes running. She's also a killer. We have a whiteboard on the refrigerator, or we did, and on that whiteboard we had a tombstone that we had drawn for something, and then we started putting little bird signs above the tombstone because keeping track of all the birds that she's killed in the backyard, and a squirrel as well. So we know, especially in the springtime, there's a lot of birds about, and she might catch one, and it sucks, but it is what it is. So, she's already caught one this year, and then it is what it is. She will eat them. She'll just, especially if it's a baby bird, she'll just choke that thing down, and it's disgusting, but we still love her anyway. So, yeah, when we came home, we went to our in-laws for Memorial Day. My mother-in-law made some briskets and some coleslaw. It was really good. So we came home and went out back, took the dogs out because they didn't go with us. And so we're out there, and my wife is looking out in the yard, and she's like, is that a possum out there? And I was like, I couldn't see it. And then it moved, and nope, it wasn't a possum. It was a rabbit. So the rabbit started moving like an idiot. And my dogs they're hunting dogs. So they saw it. And my boy dog, who's happy-go-lucky, very aloof, kind of chill, he's never killed anything in his life. He went and he tackled that rabbit, and the rabbit screamed. I've never heard a scream like that from an animal. It screamed when he chomped down on it. So he turns around and starts running towards us with this rabbit in his mouth. And this was a good sized rabbit. This is probably like, 10-pound rabbit or something. I don't know how big rabbits are. 5 pounds maybe. He comes running towards us, all proud of himself that he caught this rabbit, and he's sinking his teeth into it. And so I ran up to him, and I'm like, no, drop it. So he dropped the rabbit, confused, thinking, but I got it. What? Why are you mad, Dad? So I had my wife take them back inside, and I had to scoop up the rabbit with the rake and the little poop scooper. It was disgusting. But anyway, so that was my weekend. Did your dog kill a rabbit this weekend? Because that's nightmare fuel that I will never get rid of. But anyway, so now both my dogs are killers. So there you go. All right. Let's move on to the forum post of the week. All right. So I'm cheating this week because I'm taking a forum post that I myself created. So I put up a poll on Reddit that was kind of with this week's main topic in mind. What do you think will happen with the Mist of Pandaria Classic servers? And I gave 6 options. Servers move to Warlords of Draenor. Servers move to Legion. Skip Warlords. No new expansion. Servers become de facto MOP era. Basically just nothing happens. No new expansion. Servers close. Characters transfer to Modern WoW. No new expansion. Servers close. Characters transfer to a new Titan Reforged server, the Chinese one. Something like that. No new expansion. Characters transfer to various new era. Choice of various new era servers or stay on MOP era. I'm trying to kind of give an idea of what people think is going to happen. I said, obviously, we won't have any official info until BlizzCon, but I'm curious what everyone thinks about the future of Prog Classic servers. Reddit only gave me 6 options, so please, what else do you think we'll get? And, I thought, that's, I'll start some conversation and, we'll get it going. People were not happy with this post. So as of right now, this is 384 votes that I got on the Classic WoW subreddit. Of those, 165 were servers will move to Warlords of Draenor, which seems to be the most popular opinion. 21 people said servers will move to Legion and skip Warlords. 59 said there will be no new expansion and the servers will become just MOP era. 97 said no new expansion. The servers will close and characters will transfer to Modern WoW. 7 people said there's no new expansion coming, servers will close, and characters will transfer to new Titan Reforged servers. And 35 people said no new expansion, characters transfer to choice of various new era servers or stay on MOP era. And so that's fine. People voted the way they felt, and that's cool. I'm glad. That's why I put it out. I was curious because I'm like, I only know what I think. The post has 0 upvotes. And by 0 upvotes, I mean it got downvoted so many times that the number is just staying at 0. So I've tried this a few times. I've tried to post content on Reddit, things that I'm like, hey, let's have a conversation about this. And people do not like that. They do not want to talk about this sort of thing. They want to be mad and angry at the world. So the first person, or the first comment here that I'm going to read says, you mean the China exclusive Titan Reforged servers that have nothing to do with anything that they're announcing in August and we won't get? ? Okay. I mean, that's fair, and again, that's how you feel. So I thought I was going to be funny. I was being cheeky. I responded to him. I said, that's it. That's the one. Yep. Boy, I'd love to curl up on a couch under a weighted blanket, watch You've Got Mail, and devour a box of Titan Reforged. If you don't know what that's from, it's a line from Ted Lasso. And he's talking about the billiards game snooker. And he said it sounds like a box of cookies. And so that's what he said. I'd love to curl up on a couch under a weighted blanket, watch You've Got Mail, and devour a box of Snookers. So this person replied to me. Another person replied, what in the fucking AI response is this? And so that's when I realized, oh, I see. This is a whole AI. People are afraid of AI doing things, and so everything that seems like it's formulaic or seems like maybe there's no heart to it or everything is spelled correctly, it must automatically be AI. So whatever. This other person said they won't skip anything. It will either close or go to Modern WoW or WoD. WoD interest seems rather low though. This other person says it's going to go to WoD. There isn't a reason to stop progression until they're completely dead and buried. The work is only going to get easier for them as it gets closer to retail. At most, they just do a hyper-fast cycle time and aim for 1 year instead of the 1.5 we've been getting. This other person says, I just don't see them ever letting people transfer their classic characters to the modern game. That's true. I've talked about that before. This guy says they've been a bit quiet about WoD Classic, and I certainly hope they run it because it's a genuinely great expansion with some great raids. There's absolutely 0 chance they skip it. They either end Classic Prog at MOP, or we go WoD, Legion, BFA, and beyond with a continually shrinking player base. At some point in the future, we'll get another Prog server. Anniversary servers seem to be going to Prog Wrath of Lich King, and I look forward to all the dummy Legion babies posers realizing being trapped in Wrath of Lich King forever actually sucks. Okay, yeah, that's the take That is certainly a take. This guy says, have fun in Draenor, buddy. I like that one. This guy says, where's the classic stops and classic plus becomes the new thing? Ah, okay. I see. And then finally, hopefully, skip WAD. The reason that I'm bringing this up now, and the reason I posted this in the first place, is I kind of wanted to get a feel for where the community is. What do people think is going on? Because Blizzard ain't telling us shit. And like I said, more than, well, it looks like almost half have said that the servers are going to move to Warlords Draenor. So that seems to be the prevailing opinion. The second most popular one, though, was that the servers would close and characters would transfer to Modern WoW. There's no way that would happen. There's no way Blizzard is going to bring those old characters or those classic WoW characters with those old achievements that are unattainable in the modern game, right? Like Scarab Lord, things like that, and bring them over to. There's just no way that we're not going to merge our collections together. You know, think about all the mounts that people have farmed on Classic. That all of a sudden you're going to have on retail if you get to transfer that up? No, there's no way. I don't know. I was just really curious to see where this is going. Obviously, people were not thrilled with it, and that's okay. I can take it. And I keep trying on Reddit. I do, but you know, it's just not the way. It's just not the way. So anyway, that's what I did, and you know. Take it or leave it, but yeah, there we go. All right, I wanted to point that out. We're gonna come back to this topic. We'll stick a pin in this now. We'll come back to the topic of Classic, but I wanted to set the stage with this particular forum post or Reddit post in this case. But we'll come back to it. So let's move on to the news.
It's time for the news.
In Blizzard news, so not a whole lot of news this week. Really, there's the Mists of Pandaria Classic and TBC Anniversary news items. We're going to move those to the main topic of the week. So we'll skip that. We'll come to the Modern WoW news. And something that I missed last week right before I recorded was that the crest cap had been removed in Midnight, which means you can go and farm as many crests as you want, which you no doubt already know. If you're playing Midnight, you've realized that the crest cap is gone. But one of the things that I find really interesting about this is that Blizzard still is doing the same thing, which is giving time for people to kind of pace people out. And then at a certain point go, all right, go as fast as you want. Which to me is really interesting, because if you're struggling to get your gear upgraded and then all of a sudden you can go as fast as you want, it's almost like, all right, this is the end of the season. I feel like the way that these seasons have been structured recently, especially with the power boost midway through the season, whether it's the turbo boost or the Void Forge or whatever we have going on, this is just one more thing that Blizzard has done to go, okay, you can go full speed. Okay, we're basically done with the competitive aspect of this season. We're just going to let people run wild. And they are. People are going and they're upgrading all of their gear. People who have already gotten almost full Myth Track, who haven't even done Mythic Raid, but they're able to get Myth Track gear because of the Vault and because of the Void Forge. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think that they're probably going to pull back on this level of the speed with which this is being released in the future, but I don't know. I'm curious, because we are still probably a month away from patch 12.0.7. So does that mean that? I mean, there's got to be 3 more months of this season left. People are going to be bored out of their minds. People are going to get to patch 12.0.7, do all the content really fast, and the only thing we're going to have is the raid with the weird gear, which we haven't even really gotten into yet, how weird the Sporefall gear is. But we'll talk about that probably in a couple weeks. But yeah, I'm trying to understand the goal here. Is the goal to wrap up the season essentially, and kind of let everyone just go? Because if you're throttling people, why stop that? What purpose does it give you to stop the throttle? because it's not going to encourage people to play more. They're going to go, they're going to run through, they're going to do all their stuff, and then they're going to stop. And now they're done. They're not, oh, I'm mostly done, but I still need a few more crests. No, they're done. And they essentially don't need to play anymore until season 2. So I don't know. I don't know if this is a calculated decision or if it doesn't make any sense to me. But, I guess we'll see. It's Blizzard's game. They can do whatever they want. So, yeah, there you go. All right. Next up is, speaking of patch 12.0.7, there's 2 things on the PTR that I wanted to mention. The first is the Turbulent Timeways dates have changed on the PTR. So we previously talked about the Turbulent Timeways was scheduled to start on June 16th. And so people were kind of speculating that, all right, that's going to be the start of the patch 12.0.7. That has been pushed back on the PTR to June 30th. So we're kind of delaying the launch of 12.0.7 for a few weeks, for 2 weeks. And what does that mean for the release of 12.0.7 with regards to the release of 12.1 and BlizzCon? Because, as I've said before, that scheduling cluster fuck is coming, and it's coming fast. And I think Blizzard I'm sure they figured out what they're doing with it, but it doesn't look smooth. Nothing about this feels good, because we're either going to get a way long season 1, or we're going to get the MDI and Arena World Championship finale after season 2 is launched. So I don't know. It is a little odd, and especially because they started both the MDI and the AWC so early, and now people are just gonna have to wait until BlizzCon to finalize it, which means they're going to go through 12.0.7 and all of the class changes that are going to be there. So it is a little odd. And I think, like I said, Blizzard kind of got pushed into a corner here. They scheduled themselves in a corner with BlizzCon. They had to schedule BlizzCon because you got to book the convention center. And it just so happened that the timing did not line up smoothly with the patch. So, I don't know. I still don't know how that's going to roll out, but, this certainly isn't the only scheduling snafu that Blizzard has found themselves in recently, but this certainly seems to be a big one, especially because with BlizzCon coming up, you don't want to start the season and then go straight into BlizzCon, because the devs and all the employees who are going to be at BlizzCon are going to need to be working on the season instead, because there's always a few bugs and things that they need to be fixed and kind of keep track of. You've got the Race to World First. You've got tuning changes that are going to need to happen. You've got class changes that are going to need to happen after the launch of 12.1. It just really doesn't make sense for them to launch it before BlizzCon. But they might. They still might do it. I think it would be crazy, but they might do it. More than likely what will happen is it will get a launch the week after BlizzCon. And that's probably part of the reason why this is getting pushed back, so that we don't sit on 12.0.7 for so long. Just kind of even thing or space things out evenly. So, I guess we'll see, but yeah, that's, to me, that one's really weird. The Turbulent Timeways also went from 10 weeks to 6 weeks, which is also a bit odd. I'd rather have 10 weeks of Turbulent Timeways, honestly, but, I guess we'll see. I mean, it's the PTR. Dates can change at any moment, and, we don't know anything really about what's happening there. So, speaking of the PTR, the other thing that we have that we wanted to discuss is the Quest XP that is changing for your kind of big quests in Midnight. So things like your Delver's Call, your Dungeon Quest, your Prey Hunt, your Weekly Renown Quest. These are all going to get a huge bump in XP going into 12.0.7. I think Blizzard's finally realized that people aren't leveling alts like they used to because it's too much of a slog right now. And it's a slog. So your Delver's Call, that's going to go from 70,600 to 124,000 XP, which is a 1.76 times change. The Dungeon Quests are going to go from 23,000 to 54,000. Your Prey Hunt quests are going to jump from 17,000 to 101,000. That's huge. And your Weekly Renown Quest will jump from 11,000 to 101,000. So, certainly a really good way to get XP for an alt if you're leveling up after 1207. If you don't know the Delver's Call trick, what a lot of people do is you go and you do all the delves as you're leveling, and you pick up the quest to complete the delve one time, or the first time you complete the delve, you get this quest, and so you do all the quests, but you don't turn them in until you're about level 87 or something like that, 88, somewhere in that range. And then when you get to that point, you just go turn all the quests in, and that gets you for the rest of the way to 90. And so this is just going to be even easier now that you're getting an additional 50,000 XP from doing the delve. So yeah, this is great. I'm a big fan of being able to level a bunch of alts. I haven't leveled a bunch of alts this time around. I got 2 characters to 90, and that's it. I think my hunter is 82, but I'll get in there and I'll start leveling some alts. I do really want to come play Midnight, but I'm having too much fun in TBC. I'm suspicious about the retention rates going through Tempest Keep and Serpent Shrine, and how many people we're going to start to see drop over the next month or so. I'm curious to see how that plays out. But anyway, yeah. So this is a great change for players, and I hope that Blizzard does more things like this going forward. I'd love to see them boost the amount of XP you get for doing your time walking. I think that would be fantastic, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, let's talk about what's going on this week in World of Warcraft. Okay, so the bonus event this week is the Midnight Dungeon event. You're going to get the Sign of the Warrior buff. The final boss of each War Within dungeon will drop an extra item, which is one of the stupidest buffs that we can get because it doesn't help Mythic Plus, and nobody's running Mythic Zero or Heroic dungeons. I shouldn't say no one. People do run them, but just not very often. You can pick up the quest Emissary of War from Archmage Aethys Sunreaver in Silvermoon to complete 4 dungeons on Mythic difficulty, and you'll be rewarded with a Hero Track raid item. That is pretty cool. So you basically have to do 4 Mythics. You could do Mythic Zeros, but like I said, not a lot of people do those. You just do 4 +2s and you're good. So yeah, that one's it's fine. It's fine. And it's a Hero Track piece of gear, so that's nice. If you've got an alt or someone that has not gotten full Myth Track gear like me, I don't have any Hero Track items on my Death Knight, so maybe I should go run some Mythic Plus this week. Who knows? I probably won't. Yeah, so there you go. That's the Midnight Dungeon event this week. The PvP brawl for the week is Shadowpan Showdown. Step into Tiger's Peak Arena and get ready for the Shadowpan Showdown. You'll race for control of a center Race for control of a center control point to activate one of 2 bosses. The first to kill the other team's boss wins. When you zone in, you'll get the quest Something Different to win a PvP brawl, and you'll be rewarded with Conquest Honor and Marks of Honor. And finally, the micro holiday, the Glow Cap Festival, is taking place. That's today. Well, I was going to record this yesterday. You missed the Glow Cap Festival, so sorry. Oh well, next year. Anyway, the Glow Cap Festival is a great way to earn reputation with Sporgar, if that is something you are interested in doing, maxing out those old reputations. But it was today, May 27th. Yeah, maybe I should log on and do that before I wrap up the podcast. But you won't be able to if you haven't already done it by the time you listen to this, so I'm sorry. I'm not trying to trick you. I was going to record the show on Tuesday, and then I had a lot of things blow up at work, and so I could not do that. So anyway, all right, that's what's going on this week in World of Warcraft. Let's move on to our main topic of the week.
It's time for the main topic of the week.
I said there was 2 news items that I wanted to discuss, and yeah, so we'll start with that, and then we'll move into the discussion about everything. So first one is the Warlords of Draenor Challenge Mode weapons. The models for those weapons were found on the most recent Mists of Pandaria Classic PTR build. And the reason that's significant is because they were already found on the PTR back in April, I believe it was, but it was just the name of the weapons. They were on a vendor, but there was no models loaded for them. The models have now been updated. So, interesting that Blizzard would put Warlords of Draenor items on the PTR for Mists of Pandaria, almost like as if it was a sign of things to come or something else. But those are now available on the PTR for people to test and play with, I guess. I don't know why they're on there, but they are. The other thing that has showed up is, in addition to that, is the Juvenile Frostworm mount on the Mists of Pandaria Classic PTR. And this is it's a little Frostworm mount. Wowhead is speculating that maybe it could be like a cross-promotional thing between Mists of Pandaria Classic and a potential Wrath of the Lich King anniversary. We don't know. All we know is this is on the PTR. It's been data mined. That's it. So, with all that being said, these things are here now, and we still don't have any new information on what's coming. So I wanted to talk about the scheduling of the classic releases and how I think in a lot of ways content creators and even myself have been kind of disingenuous with the attitude on how Blizzard is handling the current classic version of World of Warcraft. So let's start with let's take stock of where we are. Mists of Pandaria Phase 5 is about to go live next week. That's June 2nd. And that's going to be the Siege of Orgrimmar raid with the Timeless Isle, a bunch of other stuff, but that's kind of the main thrust of the content there. If you remember that patch from back, I mean, a lot of people even people that didn't play, air quote, back in the day, they played around that time of MoP. So that's the final content release for Mists of Pandaria. There's not going to be anything else, and we're not getting anything new with regards to Mists of Pandaria. So that's, I think, why a lot of people have been kind of questioning, well, what are we getting next? Anniversary Classic is firmly entrenched in Phase 2 of the Burning Crusade, which is the Serpent Shrine Keep and Serpent Shrine Cavern and Tempest Keep. I just combined the two of them together. And the next phase will be Phase 3, which is Black Temple and Mount Hyjal, and that will probably release sometime before BlizzCon, maybe around July or August, if I had to guess. So that's where we are currently. The big question that people have been asking, that I've even asked myself, is why isn't Blizzard telling us what's coming next? We don't know if we're getting Warlords of Draenor. We don't know if we're getting Wrath of the Lich King. We have no idea. So that's why these two items are so important to people who are kind of asking these questions, because we go, well, wait a minute. There's a hint for both Warlords and Wrath of the Lich King right now on the PTR for MoP Classic. So let's talk about this in terms of the dates. When Blizzard has, so going back to modern or to retail WoW, to original World of Warcraft, Blizzard has kind of had a cadence of about a year lead time from when they announce an expansion to when it releases. More or less, some have been less, some have been more, whatever. It's been about an average of about a year in advance. So, for example, the Burning Crusade was announced on October 28th, 2005 at BlizzCon. It was 445 days before the actual launch of the Burning Crusade on January 16th, 2007. So that's about 15 months. To contrast that, Battle for Azeroth was announced at BlizzCon 2017, which was November 3rd, 2017, and it launched on August 13th, 2018, which was 283 days or 9 months. Just to giving an idea here, like, we're not talking about anything overly dramatic, right? For Classic, though, it's been a lot shorter. The average has been somewhere between 3 and 8 months. Burning Crusade was announced on February 19th, 2021 at BlizzConline, and the Burning Crusade Classic launched on June 1st, 2021, just 102 days later, which is not a lot. But Mists of Pandaria Classic was announced at the Warcraft Direct the 30th anniversary big streaming thing that they did 2 years ago, November 13th, 2014. And Miss Pandaria Classic launched on July 21st, 2025. It's 250 days later. Okay, 250 days separating the announcement to the expansion. Now, a lot of people have been talking about, well, if Blizzard doesn't announce something soon, there won't be enough time before Warlords comes out for us to... There's plenty of time, okay? There is plenty of time. We did 250 days from the announcement to the release. That's actually more time than we got for Dragonflight. Dragonflight was announced on April 19th, 2022 on a live streaming event that they did during the pandemic. And Dragonflight launched on November 28th, 2022, just 223 days later. So less time for Dragonflight than it was for Mr. Pandaria Classic. So there's plenty of time still for them to announce and release Warlords of Draenor, even if we are in the final patch of Mr. Pandaria. Because let's be honest, that's one of the problems that we have right now is people are looking at it, they're going, we're about to enter into the final patch content for this. There's nothing left. There's no time because we're going to have to just sit on Siege of Orgrimmar for a year. Well, we already did that, and I think that's why people are nervous. Sure. We can announce, or Blizzard could announce Mr. Pandaria is moving to Warlords at BlizzCon, and it could be 3 months after that we get an actual launch. And if that's the case, if Blizzard says, hey, Siege of Orgrimmar is going to launch on June 2nd, BlizzCon is going to be September 13th? I should know, going September 12th and 13th. So if Warlords of Draenor gets announced on September 12th, right? And then we go 90 days off from that. That's going to give us December 11th, 2026, just in time for Christmas for Warlords of Draenor. Is that going to happen? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Do I think that that's probably a little weird? Yeah, I do. But it's not outside the realm of possibility, and that's my whole point. That means that we would have 192 days in the Siege of Orgrimmar patch, which is way less than we got last time. I think the original time, let me look this up. I want to be really clear here. The first time around with Warlords of Draenor, with Mr. Pandaria, the Siege of Orgrimmar patch was 399 days. 399 days. So if we get one 192 days later, hey, we're shaving 200 days off of this. That's great. That's fantastic. Good job, Blizzard. Multi-dollar company indeed. But seriously, that's why I'm kind of wavering in my original stance of, no, there's no way they're going to do Warlords. There's no time. There's no way they're going to do Wrath. We've got Classic Plus coming, all of these things. So speaking of Classic Plus and what might be coming, I wanted to talk a little bit about, and I don't want to get into the features of Classic Plus because I will do that at some point. Here's the features that I think are going to be coming to Classic Plus. I'll do a whole episode just for what I think is coming to Classic Plus. But instead, today, what I want to do is I want to talk about the idea of launching a new game from Blizzard. Now, when Blizzard started doing Classic WoW, they gave it to us. They said, as long as you're subbed to WoW, you can just go play Classic, because they really wanted to encourage people to do it. And then it got really popular. And so they said, hey, let's do the Burning Crusade. And so then the question, I'm sure, was asked at Blizzard headquarters, do we charge them for the Burning Crusade Classic expansion? And they very wisely decided not to do that because they knew that people would be really frustrated with that. And so people were able to just get on there, and that set the precedent that every version of Classic that re-releases is just going to be free because they've already released. This is not new content. This is old content that's coming back. So for Blizzard to try and charge a full expansion fee doesn't really make sense. Instead, what they decided to do was sell a boost and a epic pack or whatever that you can pay, and not everyone has to pay it, but enough people will pay it that it'll make it financially viable for Blizzard. That's fine. I think that's good. I just recently bought the boost for Anniversary because it was on sale, and I thought, okay, now's the time that I'm finally going to do it. So that's how Blizzard's been making their money from Classic, is from these boosts and from these epic packs that they've been releasing every expansion since Burning Crusade. Classic Plus will be different. First of all, you can't buy a boost on Classic Plus. You can't. It's that would make no sense. That we would boost a character to level 60 in Classic Plus. No. So to start off with, there won't be a boost. There might be RMT. I mean, we'll get into that at some point. So there won't be a boost, which means that Blizzard has to figure out some way to charge people money for this game. And I think, and I'm sure it's going to be unpopular, but I think that they're just going to charge a box price. The 50, 70, 90 box price or something like that, where it's like, hey, you get all this cool stuff. You get this cross-promotional stuff with Modern, WoW, Midnight, whatever. Maybe Mists of Pandaria, maybe Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, whatever. I think they're going to just charge a box price. I think it's going to be $50 and some. And that's how they're going to make their money on Classic Plus. You want to play Classic Plus? You can. It's a new game that we've been developing. Yes, it's using the framework of original Classic. And yes, it's following a lot of the original dungeons and blah, 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 things that are already in the game. But we're adding a lot of new stuff. Just like they did with Season of Discovery. Just like they did with... it was really just Season of Discovery. But you get the point. They're putting new things into here. This is a completely new game mode. And theoretically, again, we don't know. We have no idea. We have no idea about anything. This is all speculation. But theoretically, this is a game mode that Blizzard is expecting to last for a long time. So if you buy this and play it for 2 years, and then Classic Plus, the first expansion for Classic Plus comes out, Beyond the Dark Portal or whatever it is that we get from Blizzard, maybe that'll have a box price too. Maybe this is a way for Blizzard to create a parallel version of WoW it's just a new game. It's a new game. Yes, it's using the same assets and the same formula as the old game, but it is essentially a new game. So it's possible that that's going to be the case, and that's how this is going to work for Classic Plus. If that is the rub, that's what we get. It is in Blizzard's best interest to close down all other versions of WoW. And I don't mean close down as in close down the servers themselves, but to discourage people from playing them, which is why, and I didn't even realize this at the time, I did an episode about why Blizzard is trying to kill Classic WoW. I think what's happening is that Blizzard is saying, all right, we're going to charge a box price. If we give people a choice and we say, hey, here's Classic Plus, and also here's Wrath of the Lich King Anniversary. One of them is $50. One of them is free, unless you want a boost. A lot of people are just going to play Wrath instead. They're you know what? I don't need Classic Plus. I'm going to go play Wrath instead. And that's why it's so important that they not split their player base here, because they're going to be charging us for this. And they want as many people as possible to come check it out. Hey, check out this new cool thing. It's like Classic WoW, but better. Okay, I'll go check it out. You know what? I'm just going to play Wrath. I'm just going to play Warlords. Oh, Legion's coming up? Screw that. I'm just going to play Legion. It doesn't make any sense. Now, if Blizzard is indeed mired in a long-standing development cycle with Classic Plus, as people suspect, and are going to distract us with Wrath of the Lich King and Warlords of Draenor / Legion, that is a possibility. But again, does that make any sense? Let's look at the development time for a game like World of Warcraft. So again, they're adding new things to Classic to make Classic Plus. They're giving us something different. They're giving us something new, maybe. they're expanding on a lot of things. There is active development work going into this as we speak. Development on Classic Plus started last year when they told us in May of last year, just over a year ago, that they were stopping all development on Season of Discovery. When they said that, they had already made the switch. They had already made the transition to Classic Plus, which means we've had a full year of development so far on Classic Plus. Okay, great. So if we say there's a year of development here, but that's not enough, we need more time. So how much more time do we need? Because we still have a good 8 months of the Burning Crusade, 8-9 months, maybe even more, 10 months of the Burning Crusade, which will play out before Classic Plus is made available, at least mostly play out. So if we said, okay, we're going to get the Burning Crusade and it's going to go through the Sunwell, and that's going to end in January. Okay, in January. January is going to give us it'll be a year since we got the Burning Crusade pre-patch. That'll give us about 19 months of development for Classic Plus, give or take a month. I just did that math in my head. Are you impressed? So if we get 19 months of development for Classic Plus, but that's not enough. So now we have to launch Wrath of the Lich King. So Wrath of the Lich King is going to come out because it's not done. They need to distract us with something. So boom, here's a fancy shiny Wrath of the Lich King. Okay, Wrath of the Lich King is out. It's going to be at least 12 months, if not 15 months of Wrath of the Lich King, which means that 19 months of development is going to go to 34 months. We're at almost 3 years of development now. I mean, unless they're recoding the game from scratch, that doesn't really make any sense. And why would they do that if Blizzard were to develop a brand new game to run fully in parallel with Modern WoW? Expansions alternating every 9 months, something along those lines. I mean, I suppose anything is possible. It just doesn't make sense, because the whole reason for doing Classic Plus is that you have that existing framework. Yeah, there's a lot of development going into it, but how much is a lot of development? Let's not forget that the time between expansions and retail right now is 18 months. 18 months. Which means that, yeah, there's more than 18 months worth of development going into it, but a lot of that is pre-planning and preparation. They have all of the structure set. They don't have to rebuild Silvermoon and Eversong Woods and Zulamon from scratch. No, they already have it. They're not creating a brand new world. They're taking the existing world and expanding it. So they don't need 3 years of development time for that. Which means that now we have to consider the possibility that this will either be January to March or April or May of 2028 that we get this, or even further out, depending on, because let's not forget, you have to do something with Progression Classic. Miss Pandaria can't just sit there all that time. So you've got to go to Warlords of Draenor. So, okay, maybe you do that fast. And then you have Legion. And then, like I said, once you give people Legion Classic, people are going to want to live there instead of moving to Classic Plus. So, yeah, this is all kind of, I don't know, Denethar, you're kind of reaching here. I am, because we don't have any information, but think about it from a business standpoint. If you're putting all of your development into Classic Plus, these expansions they're not just clicking copy and saying, okay, go. There's a lot that actually has to go into this to get these expansions live and working. Think about how many bugs have been in, not just in Miss Pandaria, but I mean throughout Classic and in Anniversary. There's so many bugs because it's not a simple copy and paste. The clients are different. Things have changed. The game is just different. The databases are different. There's a lot going on that they have to account for, and it does take development time. It does take testing. It does take work. It's not a simple click, copy, go, and expect everyone to, collect the money from Wrath of the Lich King boost. It's not that easy. So they have to make that decision. Are we going to develop Wrath of the Lich King Anniversary, put the time and energy into it, which honestly would be cool. It'd be cool if they did that. I don't think they're going to. I think we're going to get Classic Plus. And remember, Classic Plus doesn't have to be done at launch. They're going to be developing it throughout. So if we get this new world or this old world that we're going back to in a new way, or with new abilities, or with new systems, or new dungeons, new raids, new zones that we can go to, these things are going to happen over time, just like it did back in 2004 and 2005. It's going to happen over time. Blizzard's going to come in, they're going to fix things, we're going to have patches. It's going to be the same thing like we had before. And I suspect that the whole phase thing will probably just go away. We'll probably just go back to patches like we had before. So, does it make sense for us to get Wrath of the Lich King and Warlords of Draenor if Blizzard is launching Classic Plus this year? No, it doesn't make any sense. Because they're going to want to charge that box price. But if they launch those expansions, they're going to need for them to play out first before they can launch Classic Plus. Because if they don't, then you're competing with Icecrown. You're competing with Legion. You have all these things that people are going to want to do instead, and so they won't buy Classic Plus. Once they've bought Classic Plus, then Blizzard doesn't care. Go play whatever you want. They have already paid the money, so Blizzard is fine with that. And when if I'm assuming we're going to do expansions for Classic Plus, when that first expansion comes out, people will buy it again to go check that out. So yeah, it's possible that there will be other Classic versions running. Maybe Era servers. Maybe they do go to Wrath and Warlords. Maybe we have 3 running in parallel like we do currently. Maybe we do that. I don't know. But it doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you look at it from a business standpoint that they are definitely going to want to sell or have a box price for Classic Plus. And if you interfere with that with other versions of Classic, they're not going to be thrilled. The bean counters are not going to be thrilled. So I think there could still be additional variables that I haven't thought of yet that could change this. And I go, oh, I didn't even think of that. Wow, I'm so stupid. But are we going to get, like I said, are we going to get Wrath? Because if we get Wrath, that means we're getting WoD and Legion. And if we get WoD and Legion, that's probably, I don't know, 30 months. You can't do Legion fast. That's 30 months. From, I mean, I guess you could do Warlords in 9 months, so maybe like 33 months or something like that. Still a long time, and I just don't see it. I don't see Blizzard putting it out so long. If they were going to push out Classic Plus that far out in advance, they wouldn't have teased us like they did at the roadmap reveal. They would have just said, hey, you guys, you all knew it, Warlords is coming. They would have just said that, because that doesn't need a BlizzCon announcement. Because let's not forget, Warlords of Draenor, the BlizzCon that was announced at was when the whole you think you do but you don't happened. That's where we got that. That's where that came from. Warlords of Draenor was announced at BlizzCon 2013. That's when that guy in the hoodie, do you think you would want to have WoW servers the way they were then? All nervous and awkward. And J. Allen Brack just blasted this poor kid. No, you think you do, but you don't. What a dick. I'm glad that guy's gone. But seriously, that was it. That was the BlizzCon where it was like, we're kind of sick of this new shit. Can you give us the original stuff again? So why are we going back to this? It doesn't make any fucking sense. Ultimately, will we get Classic Plus? Yes. Or something like it. Will we get Legion Classic? We might. We might get Legion Classic. I don't know. Will we get Wrath Anniversary? Again, we might. And both of those would be cool. I'd play Wrath Anniversary. I would. I don't know that I would play Legion Anniversary. I did Legion, and it was so grindy. That was one of the things that I hated about Legion that I think a lot of people forget because they go back and they play the quests and they do the order halls and they're like, this is so good. Legion was grindy as hell. Yeah, no. Legion can kiss my ass. I mean, the artifact weapons were cool, but I can go do that right now. I can just go get an artifact weapon right now and do the quest, and it's cool still today. I don't need to go do that in Classic. So, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, we're going to get what we get. I like to talk about this because to me, the community doesn't understand business sense. I've heard so many people say they're not going to leave all the money from Wrath on the table. They will if it means more money from Classic Plus. Let's not forget, for every idiot that buys a boost, and I'm one of those idiots, for every idiot that buys a boost, there's probably 2 or 3 people who don't buy a boost and just log on and play for free or, your $15 a month. There's overlap between Modern WoW and Classic WoW. So if you want to go play Classic WoW and just check it out, you can do that without paying anything extra. But if Blizzard hypes up Classic WoW or Classic Plus correctly, you're going to have a lot of people who are willing to pay, especially if they do something smart and they say, hey, here's the BlizzCon special. If you pre-order now, or during BlizzCon, you're going to get $10 off, $20 off of Classic Plus. Or even better, if you pre-order now during BlizzCon, you'll get all the BlizzCon goodies included for free. Hey, you'll get a lot of people buying Classic Plus then. Or something. I don't know. I'm not a marketing person, okay? Don't shoot me. That actually doesn't make any sense. Forget I said it, okay? Oh, all right. Yeah, so at the end of the day, yeah, Classic Plus, it'll be what it is. And I hope it's fun. All right. That's going to wrap up our show for today. Thank you so much for listening. I do appreciate it. It is always a pleasure and a privilege for me to get on this microphone and speak to you. A little bit shorter of an episode this week. As I said previously, there's not a ton of news. And the news that we did have, I kind of stretched out a little bit into a full-on Classic Plus discussion because, I'm going to take any opportunity to do that. So if this wasn't your bag, I apologize. But part of me wishes I could just do a podcast talking about what's coming up and Classic Plus and all this stuff, but probably no one would listen to it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you're listening at this point in the episode, then that means you either fell asleep, in which case I'm sorry, I'll be more quiet, or you're enjoying the show. And if you are enjoying the show and you'd like to help us out, you could consider leaving a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Those really help out with our distribution, gets the podcast out to more people, which, I think is cool. I like getting the podcast out there. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't make a difference to me if you listen to it or if you don't. It's not going to change my life, but I'm doing this because I love it. I love talking about WoW, and to know that other people are listening to it makes me feel good. So that's why I push so hard on the ratings and reviews. But anyway, if you leave a rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, that really helps. And if you leave a review or a comment, I will read it on the air. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can help us out by giving us a like and a comment and subscribe there. There's no video this week. I'm just uploading the default RSS feed video. My life has been just chaos for the past week, and today was not a good day for video, so camera off. The other way that you can help us out is you could consider joining our Patreon. You can get there by going to patreon.com/Azeroth United. It's where people can give their IRL money to help out with the production costs of the show. And, as I've said many times before, I'm not doing this to make a whole bunch of money. I'm spending way more money on this podcast than I'll ever earn through Patreon. So I do appreciate the people who are on there and the people who have taken it upon themselves, to go on there and sign up. And it means a lot to me. We have 3 different tiers of patrons. We have the free tier, and we've got 2 paid tiers. Our top tier is our friend of the show patrons. And I did want to thank our friend of the show patrons this week. they, a lot of them have been with us for a long time, and it means a lot to me. So, as always, thank you so much to Stuglife, Thelial, Greybeard, Raven, Azerin, Agro Management, and Luch. Thank you all so much for your support. You definitely help make Azeroth United possible. And thank you to all of our patrons. Just knowing that you're there and showing your support means a lot to me. All right. Thank you again for listening. Remember to be good to each other out there. It's a real person on the other side of that keyboard. And you know what? Maybe they don't care about Classic Plus, and you do. And they're like, well, I don't give a shit. So it's okay. You can be friends and just smile and be nice. It doesn't hurt to be nice. It really, I think we need that in this world so much, is to just be nice to one another. Just be a decent person. Don't be an asshole. That's not who you want to be. Come on. You want to be a good person. So just smile and have fun. All right. Take care. I love you all, and I'll see you in Azeroth.